the Vermillion Local School District Board of Education regular meeting of Monday, February 9th, 2015. Please call roll.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson? Mr. Habermill?
Here.
Mr. Burton?
Here.
Mr. Rice?
Here.
Okay, I'd like the citizens of the month to please come forward. Citizens of the month, come on up here. We've got some students that were caught doing great things in January. We'd like to recognize them. Okay, so you're gonna come up here, state your name.
Toilette.
And what grade are you in?
Kindergarten.
Your teacher's name?
Mrs. Bills.
And what do you want to be when you grow up?
Fireman.
Very good.
My name is Mari.
Your grade,
Second grade.
teacher's name,
Stable.
and what do you want to be when you grow up?
A teacher.
Very good.
My name is Patrick. My name is Whitlow. And
What do you want to be when you grow up?
be a soldier.
Very good. Soldier.
Madison.
And what grade are you in?
What? Kindergarten.
Who's your teacher?
I'm preschool. Mrs. Rock.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Teacher. Teacher.
Very good.
Lila.
And grade,
First grade.
teacher's name,
Miss Schultz.
and what do you want to be when you grow up?
A teacher.
Teacher, lots of teachers here, very good. Okay, if you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, the moment of silence. Stay up here.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda, item number 5, the student liaison update. Mr. Rice?
Yes, we have Mr. Caperta. Want to come on up? Recently, that's fine. They competed in Clyde, Ohio. They've got a great group of kids that get to hear some fun music tonight, so it's great that they brought everything down here. So I want to appreciate all of our students and especially our music department. It's one of the highlights of our school. And we've got some very talented kids, and it's great that you're here tonight. And if you don't mind, tell us a bit about the competition.
Sure. So this is, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Caperta. I'm the band director here at the high school. This is an event that we do every year. It's put on by the Ohio Music Education Association. And we're kind of split up into districts by region in Ohio. And every year we go to District 2, which is down at Clyde High School. And basically it's an event where the students prepare and perform either solos or small ensembles. So something kind of different, a little bit more independent than what we do in like the full band classes that we have every day. They select pieces from a list based on difficulty, with Class A being the most difficult, and those pieces are usually like college or even professional level pieces. They perform them for a judge who's an expert in the field, so it could be former band directors, could be current band directors, or like professional instrumentalists. And those judges give them a rating on a scale of 1 through 5, with 1 being the best, known as a superior rating. And this year we had 33 students go to solo and ensemble. Of those, some kids did multiple events. Of those, at least 25 of those students were involved in an event that received a superior rating, the highest rating. 10 were in events that received an excellent rating, and 2 were involved in events that received a good rating, which is a 3. This group right here is our percussion ensemble. This is made up of the students who are the percussionists in our highest level group here at the high school, the wind ensemble. And they're going to play for you a piece called Encore in Jazz, which is written by a man named Vic Firth, who some of you may recognize that name because his brand of drumsticks is probably the most prevalent. So if you ever bought a pair of drumsticks, it's likely you bought a Vic Firth pair of drumsticks. But he was also a percussionist in the Boston Symphony for a very long time. He wrote this piece, and it really just kind of shows off what they can do. I've asked them to play a little bit quieter than they might be used to playing, but you're going to enjoy it nonetheless. So this is the Rowan High School Percussion Ensemble with Encore in Jazz.
Thank
second here. I'd like to introduce you guys, if you don't mind. Come on up to the mic and tell me a little bit about yourself and when you're planning to go to college.
Alright, I'm Eileen Costello and I'm a junior. Aside from band and everything, I'm in academic challenge, speech and debate, the majorette, all sorts of stuff, I guess. And after high school, I'm thinking of doing pre-med, but I'm not sure where. But I have some time to figure that out still. I'm a junior, so thank goodness.
I'm Kelly Innes, I'm a sophomore. Aside from like everything band, I'm in speech and debate, and I do soccer, and then like stage crew and stuff. I haven't really thought a lot about college, like where I'm gonna go, but I think I'm gonna do something in either writing or music.
My name is Darren Deverick. I am a senior, and really all I do is band. I play drum set for literally any group that this school has, and every group that this school has. After high school, I do plan on going to college. I have not quite decided where yet, still scoping things out, but I definitely plan on majoring in something music related, whether that be music ed, music performance, or music therapy.
My name's Andrew Bolzer. I'm a junior here. Again, I'm involved in like everything band. I'm also the stage manager here at the high school. I'm involved in golf and track, a lot of other small groups. After high school, I plan on majoring in stage management at a four-year university.
My name is Kyle Bree, also a junior here. Besides band, I'm in our show choir here, baseball, soccer, and other small extracurricular activities. As far as after high school, I plan to study sports medicine, and I haven't really thought of a certain college I want to go to.
My name is Sam Morgan. I'm a sophomore, and like everyone else here, I'm pretty much in everything that is to do with band, and I play some tennis. After college, or after high school, I'm not sure, something, I like computers a lot, so something like that.
Hello, I'm Stefan Janssen. I'm also a junior here at Vermillion High School. I do every musical activity here. I'm also junior class president, and I'm in speech and debate and academic challenge as well. After high school, I plan to attend a four-year college for music education, preferably Oberlin Conservatory or Baldwin Wallace Conservatory.
Should also mention that Stefan was in 4 events at solo and ensemble and got superior ratings in all 4 of those events.
Well, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Outstanding. Thank you. Great job. Don't be afraid to play when you're going out.
Yeah.
That concludes my report tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we probably go.
All right. All right, moving on. Item number 6, legislative update. Mr. Harding.
Yeah, we had to dig for a couple items here to get some information. Haven't got anything back from OSBA in a while, and I talked to Mrs. Jensen. She had not gotten anything back from OEA, so we're just piecing pieces together. Governor Kasich sent budget to the Senate. In the middle of the budget is school funding. School funding is taking a unique turn, and after talking with our assistant principal here, Joe Tellier, he had more information on it than I could get. And what they're going to do financially for the schools as far as the state funding is concerned is they're going to rank schools according to property value. And it doesn't really make much difference whether you have 50% of your kids on free and reduced lunches or not. as we do. It's based solely on property value. And 612 school systems, one being the poorest and 612 being the wealthiest, Vermilion's ranked at 528 as one of the top, in the top third wealthiest schools based on property values. So basically what that tells us is that we're not going to expect a whole lot from the state of Ohio.
Could be cuts.
It's cuts, yeah. And those schools that rank in the lower third are going to receive monies that have pretty much been taken away from the more wealthy school districts. I don't think anybody at the table, most folks don't think that's really a fair evaluation, and who came up with it, I'm not really sure, but we are going to see some state funding cut because of our ranking. So that's bad news. Good news is that on Wednesday, the 11th, the House is going to be voting hopefully on House Bill 7, which is amendment to the Common Core bill. And this is both good for our students and our teachers because it gives them a little bit of freedom to get away with while worrying about testing and where they're going to place and whether they're going to get credit for something or not. So this is all, the amendments are changed to help the students and the teachers a lot more and not spend so much time worrying about scores and testing. Don't have all the details on how that's going to come out. We'll probably know more about that next week when the voting hopefully goes down and it happens the way we hope it's going to happen. There has been one other piece, and it was a introduction to a bill that has not gotten to the floor, and it's basically a bill that's going to deregulate schools, and nobody seems to know exactly what that means. Nobody that I got a hold of in Columbus knew what that was going to say or what it was actually about. So we'll have to keep an eye on that also to see where that's going. Language is very vague, very void. Don't know what that's actually going to mean. So we'll see.
Thank you very much. Item number 7, public participation. Is anyone that'd like to come forward? And if you do, please state your name and in the interest of time, keep it brief. Nobody? I'll have a chance later on too if you change your mind. Right, on to item number 8. Let's start with superintendent's report. Mr. Bentham.
Okay, thank you. Heidi Riddle and Andy Stillman have been working with me together, and we have did quite a bit of research on some marketing companies that can come into our school district and to look at our facilities, look at our advertising wall space, look at our website, look at everything that we do, not particularly so much the website, but just look at everything we do in terms of advertising and the potential for advertising dollars and the potential for revenue. We've been looking a lot at our budget as we do every year. We look at our long-term forecasts, we look at the condition of the district, we look at things that we've done well, things that we need to do to improve on. One of the things that I believe that we've needed to focus on is making use of advertising space and getting our name out there, and not getting it out to the point where you're putting advertising on every single thing, but doing it tastefully and doing it the right way. And that led us to a search of many different companies. And so Heidi and Andy and I took that responsibility on, have been searching for quite a while, and that led us to a company called Side Effects. They're an Ohio company, and we've got Bob Westerfield that is here tonight that's going to make a short presentation about his company, what exactly they do, how they do it. We're really enthused because Bob is the owner of the company, and he's going to be paying special attention to our school district. This is not something that's going to cost us money, it's something that's going to generate income. It's going to generate revenue. So Bob, if you could come up tonight. Bob Westerfield is the owner of Side Effects, and he will give you an overview. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bill. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys and perhaps work with you. Tell you a little bit about our company. As Phil stated, I founded the company in 1996 in a little community called Springboro. Springboro is right on I-75, just south of Dayton. I got into this and founded the company, quite honestly, by accident. I was a booster person, very active in the schools. My 2 children were attending Springboro High School at the time. And the head coach had come up to me merely with a desire to get a score table. I had helped the school, I had an insurance agency at the time, and I had helped the school, the athletic department, and basketball in specific, with some score tables in the past. I bought him an apron that goes over the table much like this so you wouldn't see people's legs, and he had shown me a brochure of a lighted padded table. And I looked at it, and sometimes the way that I seem to do things is I seem to go bigger and better on things, or at least have that desire. So I looked at the brochure, and we took it from a lighted table to a 3-table set that rotated, and it was the first high school in the country that actually had a score table that had advertising and rotation on it. As a result of that, one thing led to another, and it was probably on school number 4 or so, I thought, well, perhaps there's a business in this, because a lot of schools had what I wanted to do. It started out, again, not as a business, but me just helping people. I decided at that time that one of the things that seemed to feed my energy, or at least attract me, was the fact that it just seemed like a natural that community members, local businesses would want to partner with schools and have relationships. Well, I never lost that thought, but unfortunately what happened over our 18-year history plus now is we seem to be a company that was becoming nothing more than putting signs on scoreboards and score tables. We have been very successful at this. We are in 33 states. We work with about 750 some high schools. And in some ways, it kind of had the attitude that if it's not broken, don't fix it. We've experienced an 18% growth on an average every year, and never one year have we ever had a year that was less than the previous year. However, as I was describing to Heidi and Andy and to Phil, is one of the things that I've been yearning in the last 4 or 5 years, though, is I felt like we have gotten away from what my intention and my desire is, and that is bringing communities and schools into a partnership. Again, we just keep putting them out. With that, we developed a mission statement. Gosh, this is probably about 4 or 5 years old now. And the first few lines of the mission statement are to develop and nourish relationships. So again, our mission is one thing, but our business model and where we're making money is all been kind of a different item. So I've had this desire that what I want to do is I want to partner with a school, and we need to bring and partner the business community with schools. Well, there's a school, and it's Springboro again, by the town that I live in, has asked me to get involved and basically handle all the advertising and sponsorship for Springboro. This happened weeks ago, literally. On the heels of this, Kylene in our office had scheduled an appointment for her and I and Jeff in our office to come up and visit with you guys. And in that meeting, we talked about a little bit, well, what is Side Effects done, and what is it going to do, and how's that going to work, and how's it going to look? And I basically stated that that we've got some kind of good news, bad news. The bad news is you're not going to be working with a tech or a project manager back in our office, which we have 16 in that division that work with securing advertising and sponsors. A piece of good news, and you can look at it this way, it might be, I hope it's good news, you get me. Because we don't have, our model is not to have 16 of our project managers doing some of this big picture partnership. It's more on finding the bank, the insurance agency, the realtor, the pizza company that is looking to just advertise on these pieces of equipment. We're talking about a much bigger picture here. It was interesting as I sat in that chair and listened to the report about the value of the homes. This time, Phil and Heidi and Andy, I didn't just come in from the south and turn right. I came in from the south and kept going. And I can see why the value of the properties is maybe not what, you know, why it's climbing and why you guys are so highly ranked. I think it's pretty obvious. But those bring challenges. And as you guys have faced challenges, yeah, I've seen in our, coming up on 19 years here, I've seen a complete change. And those of you that have been in education, and I mean, you've seen the changes. It's, I stated in the meeting that we had, is it used to be that if we could give a school a scoreboard or a score table, my gosh, just the feeling, that was it, that was enough. But it's some time ago that changed. They have to be revenue producers. That's the real world. So you guys, it appears, have taken the step to be an early adopter and said, we need to be creative. We need to do things different than what has been done and just sit back and let whatever that state funding is do its thing and then play by those rules. There are school districts that are doing it, and you guys are at the forefront of that. And we're willing and not only able, but excited to jump in this firsthand. One of the things that I stated is I believe that the way to do this, even though I'm just south of Dayton, Ohio, I think the way to do this is a lot of visits, entrench myself in this community, get to know people. I came up a couple of hours early tonight and had dinner at the VFW with the entire intent of mingling, talking, listening to people, just learning. And that's what it's going to take. There are people out here that I know want to partner with the schools. They want to be partners in education. And my job would be to find them and put together a package that honors not only them, but honors the schools. And the schools, we talked about how we need to literally work together. This isn't about hiring a marketing company and then let them run rogue and just do what it is they do. It's much more about partnering and determining how we make this work together for what you guys want. And once you find these people, they're going to have a reason that they're going to partner with the schools. And then the backup of this, which is just as important, is literally reaching out to them and continuously giving them what it is they thought they were getting. But like I said, we're excited. This is, I'm not going to act like I can come in and tell you that we've got naming rights and sponsor rights, and I have a whole list of them. That part isn't true. But I'm certain that we bring in 19 years of experience and a whole lot of caring. So, but it's been a pleasure to meet with the people that we've met, the neat community right down to the JD that's sat next to me at the VFW. So I have some brochures which also have some contracts in them so that you guys can kind of take a look and see maybe a little bit more of the meat and potatoes about it. This contract is pretty general. One of the parts that talks about some of the addendums in it, the addendums are all blank. And the reason being is we need to find out exactly what, where are we going to go? Do we want to get naming rights for this? Do we want this piece of equipment? What do you want? I'm very aesthetically oriented. If something doesn't look good, I immediately jump off of it. So I don't think we'll ever have those concerns. But again, it's not about me coming in and saying, oh no, you have to name that, you have to get this, and you have to do that. Now, that's not part of this. It is what do you want? And like I said, you guys, whether you know it or not, you're already early adopters. So it's going to take a kind of a committee of people and a gathering of thoughts as to, okay, do we go this far? Do we pull back? Do we do this? Do we don't do that? And I'm going to do as much listening as guiding. Because there's going to be a lot of, not a lot, it's going to be 100%. This is what we want.
So how do you manage 750 schools with 16 people? So you have roughly 48 schools per person plus you?
We have 48 employees. We have 16 that are actually in sales.
Okay.
Yeah. The rest of them are administration, customer service, etc.
So even at that kind of ratio, I guess that would be my only concern.
The
touch points seem real
Well, again, what we're doing has been much more of a signs on scoreboards, signs on score tables. And like I said, that's where our company has gone. So we sell contracts, for example, on score tables and scoreboards at either 3 or 5 years. So it's not as necessary to touch each project all the time. We could bring in a campaign, for example, one of the things that I know has been talked about is, for example, a score table. Let's pretend for a second that we were just doing a score table. Well, what we would do is give this is our model. We would give you the score table for your school. You'd have a phenomenal, beautiful score table. It would sit in there, would have rotating advertising all over it. It would be 16 foot long or plus. And what we would do is we would secure somewhere between 10 and 16 advertisers. They would range at around $3,000 in advertising sponsored, and they would be 3-year contracts. We would spend somewhere between a month and 4 months securing those advertisers. We would gather the artwork, we would invoice them, we would do all that. We would send the purchase order to a manufacturer who happens to be in Kansas. We would do that, the table would arrive, and there's not a lot to do for 3 years. Now, we do have customer service, so what we want to do, and this came out in the meeting that we talked about, because we understand the importance of these people needing to renew, because the cost of getting a new person is a whole lot more expensive than if we can get the local insurance person to continue to renew. So what we do is we reach out to them in several different ways. One of them is we have literally stickers made that say, you know, you're a Sailor supporter, etc. We get that approved and okay by the athletic director typically. In addition to that, we send out thank you notes. We constantly send out pictures within emails that just basically say, you know, you're an advertising sponsor from a year ago and just wanted to say thank you. And then we call them up 5 months before they're ready to renew, and we renew them. We have about a 57% renewal rate, just because.
So after expenses, you know, obviously you guys incur all the expense, but at a cost to us at some point. So what is the cost split ratio income?
We do it all on a commission base, and our traditional system, I'm going to say that one more time so that you don't fall off your chair. Our traditional system is 50-50. We take 50% of all the revenue and we share it 50-50. Now the reason, again, that I repeated with the traditional is that certainly wouldn't be the situation here. Now it might be on score tables and things like that, or signage on a scoreboard, but it certainly wouldn't be that on naming rights of a stadium, that type of thing. And I even have in here an outline of the commission rate. It's going to be based on dollar amounts, things like that. And we're open for discussion. I mean, and we are, you know, when you hear even the 50-50, I don't know where your mind goes when you hear that, but it's interesting because our business model and our CFO and CPA and everybody else, we are much more, we're a low margin company. So when you take a look at expenses and you do things, it takes a great number of projects in order to make the whole thing go. It's not a high-end. Years and years ago, and I'm going back a lot of years, we had a few competitors in the market that did it at a 75-25, 25 to the schools. I've always had that attitude that it just seems like the ring of a 50-50 doesn't just have a nice sound to it, but there's nothing that we do that can be construed as, if it's good for you, it's good for us. And if it's good for us, it's good for you. And that's the way that started in Springboro, Ohio in 1996, and we've never changed it until, with Springboro literally a month ago, like these 3 weeks.
So let's take an average, okay?
Sure.
750 school. What is the high, low, medium that you bring in revenue that's a 50-50 split?
Boy, that goes all over the place too. But
there's got to be, with
Yeah.
750, there's got to be some type of history here.
Oh yeah, there's history. In fact, we can even get you, I don't mind, we have several schools right here in the area. We have Amherst Steel, we have North Olmsted. We have quite a few schools. In fact, we have one
I'm not
third of the
asking
schools in
for
Ohio.
specific schools revenue. I think it's inappropriate for me to ask that. I'm just looking for an average. What do you bring in in advertising revenue that's split for the average school?
It would be comfortable to say that every 3 years, we could bring in $15,000 to a school. I mean, that's way, Centerville High School, for example, which is a pretty big school district down near where I live, we have 5 projects out there, and I think we send them $6,000 or $8,000 every month. But they have a massive scoreboard. We have their basketball scoreboard, their score table, their baseball, their softball, and their soccer. There's other schools, Amherst Steel, they have a score table. North Olmsted has a scroll cabinet underneath their scoreboard, and then we just put in a rack. So, it really depends. The company started on score tables, and from 96 to 99, that's all we did was score tables. And I would say probably maybe a third to a half are still score tables. There's still a lot of schools that want score tables. But, does that answer your question? Now, and again, by no means would we be talking about or nor be happy with, oh my gosh, isn't this great? Bob's going to work with Vermillion, and he said we can maybe bring in $15,000 every 3 years. That would be bad. That's not what we're talking, right?
I don't know what.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
No. We've
You told me 15,000 every 3 years. That's the numbers in my head.
Well, that's the 750 schools that we work with.
Okay.
That is more of a, we put an ad here on this piece of equipment. Okay. We're looking at a program here that is much different. When you get into naming rights of a stadium, for example, I've done a little research already, and there's a high school to the west that I understand had $500,000 contributed to get naming rights. I also know of another school near Parma, I can't think of the name, but out near Parma they got $750,000 to get naming rights for a stadium. Now, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
pardon?
It's all about different circumstances. Who knows what the.
But it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be talking 15,000 for 3 years. So it's a lot different than that. But again, you're right, it's a lot about, and I'm not going to pretend that, by coming in here at 5 o'clock today and sitting at a VFW, that I've got it figured out. That okay, now we've got our price point, and there it is. That would be cool. But I welcome those kind of questions. Like I said, any questions, anytime. My gosh, and I don't care if it's tomorrow. If you have questions, that's how it works. It's not about, here's the marketing company and here's Vermillion School District, and it's a partnership. And it even is on a score table. And the reason I say it that way, we get in with the athletic director, and we have to make sure that they understand.
So we're trying to pull this off. The person that helps pay for the yearbook, they sell advertising for the yearbook. What happens with that? Does it all run through you?
No. Yeah, well, that's up to you guys. I doubt that you would want me to be doing literally yearbook. Even in Springboro, that they want me to do the entire district, I don't do the yearbook, I don't do their program.
I don't know
book.
what you do, so that's what I'm trying to ask. And so you say this is all encompassing, but
It
there's
can
certain
be
things we're gonna
anything.
do, certain things you're gonna do. You're just looking for the big stuff only, and
It would be anything, we would sit down and talk about anything you want to do. I would encourage you to not allow us to be doing program books, souvenir program books, and yearbooks and things like that. I just think that giving up a large percentage like that for the small potato stuff, I think I don't think that would be a wise decision. I think you're better off using your students or your influence through teachers and things like this to do those kind of ads.
the problem you run into is you end up calling them the pizza shop, and now, this is for the schools, but then the boosters, 3 different booster clubs still going after that same pizza shop.
Yep. Run into that, yeah, with our conventional method, we do that. Yep. And it's interesting because I can tell you that the second school that I ever did, talked to the athletic director, Jim, and that was his first question that he had. Now, I didn't have a business. I didn't know anything about this. So his concern was as valid as anything I'd ever heard, because I came from the insurance industry, how would I know? And his concern was exactly that. He said, well, if somebody wants to advertise on a score table, what does that do when we go out and want to get a program ad? I mean, I just looked right at it, I said, I have no idea. But I'll tell you what, we're going to find out. And what I did is when we got done with the score table, I literally found out right when they did the program ads, let's find out how that went. And I literally called business and asked for a program book, and I did my own research and found out it didn't affect it at all. Now, can you sit there and say, well, you know, somebody that does something really, really big, is that going to affect this?
Yeah, the issue we always run into is our business feel tapped by our school district, because you've got the athletic boosters, you've got the band boosters, you've got the baseball team, all the teams kind of doing their own things still, you know, trying to put their football, you know, it just, there's, you know,
it's
draw
I think
requirements.
to your earlier point, we can help direct where you go, right? I mean, we can help direct the vision and the mission of what we want to accomplish, right?
Absolutely.
At no risk to the district, and you know, you don't make money unless we make money, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I want this to succeed. Well, for several reasons I want to, but yeah.
Right.
But you make a good point. There's no doubt about it. When I had my insurance agency, it happened. I still get it. You know, even though I'm a business that works with schools, but when people find that out, I mean, I get several calls a day from, you know, over 750 high schools. You get several calls, and that's never going to change. It's, you know, I know some athletic departments have chosen to say, oh, no, we're going to coordinate everything through an athletic department. I've had others say, oh, no, there's some organizations, some high schools they have a booster club for every sport. And they're responsible for raising the money for every sport. And I don't think anybody has that completely figured out. It's a tender situation. I mean, you just have to move through it. But if you're looking at, you know, trying to raise significant money, you're probably not going to do it by, you know, asking a booster parent from the tennis team or a booster here and go here, and it just doesn't add up. So, like I said, I think you guys are on, or from what I understand, I get the impression that you guys are very early adopters and trying to get creative to try to figure out, hey, you know, rather than nickel and dime and look at this little thing and send everybody in 7 different directions, the right way might be to look at the bigger picture.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Everything you mentioned so far is in reference to athletics. Do you look at any of the other facets of the school district in terms of selling ad space functionally?
Yes. In fact, it was discussed when we walked around the school that, again, and Vermillion appears to be an early adopter on this. We specifically looked at the auditorium. Can the auditorium have a naming rights?
Wouldn't do that when it was built.
And again, it's interesting, I see his reaction, and I don't know whether that's a very positive or very negative. But the point is, when you are an early adopter, you are going to hear, I mean, there's going to be some opinions. Some people are absolutely going to praise that. I can tell you that, you know, just kind of talking, I didn't get specific at all. But at the VFW, the 2 or 3 people I talked to they're more on the, yes, you got to get creative, and this is neat, and they told me, I didn't tell them, there hasn't been a levy that's been proposed to the district in a little bit, and that's great thinking. That's wonderful. You're going to get some people on the other end. There's no doubt about it. What do you mean, put a name on an auditorium? I mean, was this person in the arts? Was this person an educator? What do you mean? Whose name are you putting on an auditorium? Well, if it can generate some dollars and you're respectful, you know, and that's where the board and the district has to be involved. You know, we're not going to turn it into a NASCAR fender. But on the other hand, you know, if somebody wants to sponsor it, it's probably not going to be a little wood plaque on the third seat in the last row.
I'm interested in this scoring tape. If it were just on one side, less than half of the attendees would even see it. If you have something for both sides in a gymnasium,
You can put signage, even if it's the new digital type advertising, you can put it underneath the scoreboard. And now everybody can see it. The one question we typically ask, and we're very early into this, but where does the home fan sit? Do they sit typically across from the score table? Yes. Then you won't have an issue.
Any other questions from board members?
No, sounds great.
Bob, we know that this is in its infancy and we have a lot of work to do, and I appreciate Heidi and Andy giving me the help with this along the way too, and there's going to be a lot of decisions and a lot of work to be made, and we know that some of the decisions that we do make are not going to fall on the side that you make everybody happy. That there will be some people out there that think that we should not sell the naming rights to any of this. We understand that, but I think what you have to look at these days is what's the dilemma of schools, and that's that the revenue is limited, or the income is limited, and you have to find and create new sources of revenue and income. So that's why we're looking at this. And what I've done tonight is I've put together an addendum that's just a very generic approval of your company. And if we can jump ahead to that, I'm going to recommend this to the board tonight. It's in front of you as an addendum. It's just very simple, and it's just the right to work with Bob's company. Side effects, he'll give us some brochures. This is not by any means the details, but I think it's enough for us to at least go forward and start exploring whatever we need to with the company if the board agrees.
All right, jumping ahead then to item 13A. Recommend a resolution to authorize the superintendent to negotiate the terms of an agreement with Side Effects Incorporated for the purpose of Side Effects Incorporated facilitating agreements with entities that wish to provide funds, equipment, and or other articles to the district in exchange for advertising those entities and or their products or services.
I'll move.
I'll second. Any other questions or discussion?
You know, the only comment, I'm just not comfortable personally moving forward with this until but we can vote.
Anybody else? Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
yes.
Mr. Rice?
No.
Okay, the next thing that I'd like to talk about is Andy Stillman is going to introduce Nick Gilia. I'm not. Okay, I'm sorry if I've not pronounced your name right, but once again, Andy has been working with the company that's with us tonight, Stray Dog Strength, and he's been doing a lot of looking at what needs to go into housing our field house, the equipment that needs to go in it. And so he has brought the gentleman here this evening that will talk a little bit about what that might look like as we do raise some revenue. One thing that I want to strongly say tonight is that this is not coming out of the general fund. This is an athletic endeavor, but it's not something that we're paying for one dime with out of our budget. What we have is what we have right now in our athletic equipment, and that athletic equipment needs to be moved from the facility it is in to the new facility. If we don't get anything else, it'll have to remain that way. What we have to do is find a way to raise revenue find a way to make some money outside the school district to pay for some of the things that this gentleman is going to talk to us about tonight. So with no further waste of time, I'm going to have Andy come up and talk to us a little bit about it.
So I'm going to just hand out a few things here to the board. You guys can just follow along a little bit with us. And I've got a few different color copies and some black and whites, but I think everybody gets the general idea. And we'll talk about some of these things as we go through. And not included in your packets are general outlines, just drawings of what the inside of the facility would like to have it look like. You can kind of follow along with that. All right, first off, I want to kind of just give a little bit of background on what we're doing. And without getting into scientific and too technical with what this is, we're looking at putting 14 racks or stations in custom color. 5 of those, as you see on your drawing, will be double-sided racks. 4 of those will be just half racks, so it'll be 14 total stations. Some of the big pieces are top-of-the-line bumper plates, or the weights that are actually used by the athletes on the ends of the barbells. These are by Pendlay. They're elite. Like I said, one of the top high-end pieces. There'll be 3 pairs of these at each station, along with obviously several other increments of weights. We'll have a bench, 14 benches at each station. This will increase the uses at those stations from any kind of upper or lower body type work. Those again will be custom color, very high quality. There'll be 4 glute ham developers, GHDs. They're separated there next to the racks. Again, high-end piece and in custom color. Now, down to the bones of it. Why are we doing this? Several reasons. We're looking to have the premier athlete development facility in the new conference in the SBC, but also really one of the tops in the state. This type of room models top collegiate rooms. This is going to supply our kids with the best available equipment. This would also raise a sense of pride in Vermillion, our schools, and the athletic programs. Increased participation, potentially increased enrollment on that as well, which is important. A big part of this is the development of our current student athletes. I think that's one thing that a lot of people miss on this. This is really about developing the kids we have now, helping them become more functionally strong, increasing athleticism, body awareness, injury prevention, and this type of setup is advantageous for both male and female athletes. Both use it, and obviously some great benefits from it. This also provides us for opportunities for camps and clinics. I've run several camps and clinics, strength and conditioning clinics in my past. I would love to be able to have a youth strength and conditioning camp clinic at this facility, bringing in youth and families from around the communities and to see what we have. Again, raising that visibility and that awareness with Vermillion, increasing revenue. It's, like I said, going to be one of the premier facilities in the region for sure. What I want to do next is bring up co-owner and national sales, Nick Giglia here. I've worked with Nick on 2 other separate weight rooms and feel real comfortable with Nick and his company can do. So Nick's going to give you a little bit of absolutely background on what we're doing.
As he said, my name is Nick Giglia. I'm with the company. Actually, we build a product line called Stray Dog Strength. Our company's called The Equipment Guys. We are out of Columbus, Ohio. Our equipment's built in Columbus. We actually impact 151 jobs in the state through our 20 years of doing this. And we've worked with about 40% of the high schools in Ohio. We're actually an official sponsor of the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association, the OIAAA, which is the Athletic Administrators Association. We take money and sponsor them every year, and we're involved in Ohio. We're Ohio guys. Played myself and my business partner played football at Ashland University in the mid '80s, and decided we didn't really want to work for anybody else and tried to do our own thing. And after 20 years, we're kind of becoming successful. We've become geniuses in 20 years, I guess, on how to do some things. And we work with quite a bit of high schools. I can show you up here is Solon High School over on the east side. Worked with them. Miami University Hockey. Brought this in, which I thought kind of a neat thing. This is at Hillsdale College, which we did this summer, but it shows the concept of what the racks do. People always ask me what we really do is we manage space. If you give us a 3,000 square foot weight room, we try to have the most safe and efficient way to train athletes inside of that 3,000 feet in as little structure as possible, so the weight rooms can be open, so kids can jump, stretch, and just use the space well. But the rack system that Andy was talking about is basically a squat rack that you may have seen in gyms, but it's made specifically to train athletes with, or users in general. You can bench in there, squat, power clean. So if you get into traditional weight rooms where you'd have a bench press, a power clean station, and a squat rack, the issues you run into in those situations is the days the kids aren't benching, half your weight rooms not being able to be used at all. With these, they can adapt to squat in the same station that they bench. They can power clean in the same station, so we get into efficiencies. What we try to do is can we get 60 or 80 kids through a weight room in an hour? If you've obviously dealing with kids, they have about 40 minutes of pure attention, and trying to get them through quickly where you can move on to other things is what we do. In other words, we manage space through the design of our equipment. And so this is an idea of what we do. Are there questions before we go any further about like the view of modern weight rooms or about our company? So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at 14 stations inside of that weight room. Some neat features inside of our stuff is, what we really do is we work mainly with high schools. We work with some colleges, but like we work with high schools. Pretty neat thing for everybody to know is their equipment's built in a modular fashion, because the one thing we know is the way kids train today may not be what they're doing in 5 years. Our equipment is basically like an erector set, everything bolts together. So if philosophies change, we can change our equipment around. You can buy a few more pieces of steel, we come up to the labor and retrofit it. So what we believe is a 30-year investment. 7-gauge structural, it's 7-gauge steel, it's structural gauge. So it's not, you're not going to have any issues with the equipment falling apart, but that's not the issue. The issue is going to be if we have something that can only do one thing, it's only fully welded. In 5 or 6 years, if philosophies change, did we just spend all this money and now we've got to change all over again? Or it's going to adapt to the changing phase of training, which is a real nice benefit, I believe, for any school. And that's it. We work with, like I said, we work with a lot of schools. We understand the market, and you know, I'm one of the owners. It's literally our life's work right there, and everyone's really emotional to us. And we're going to give you guys our all, everything we can do for us. So.
Nick, you guys just do the equipment, or do you get into the flooring at all, or?
We do we can do, basically, if you look at all of these, we've done every aspect of this, from the flooring to the turf. Now, we don't make everything. Obviously, the flooring, we use subcontractors. Now, the flooring company we use is a company called Everlast out of Pennsylvania. It's an American-made product. And that's what we did at Solon High School. It can adapt from time to time. Like Solon, they got a lot of money for this, but we actually put this type of product can sit right on top of their existing flooring. So we put the flooring in just the area that they needed, this type of flooring, and allowed them to keep their old flooring and blend everything together. Then you get into situations at Miami University where every aspect outside of the synthetic ice hockey room, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Outside of that, we did every aspect of it. We worked with them 2 years beforehand, worked with the architect on the space we needed, where doors needed to be, all those aspects. But yes, we do every aspect of the weight room. We can do multiple different ways. Some schools, what we found is a lot of schools have labor to provide, like kids can help move things and do things. So We've done some local flooring jobs here where the booster club meet us, and in the flooring situation, you need one person that knows what they're doing, and the rest are just willing to work, right? So we're just sending one of our guys to cut them a break on money, so we don't have to send 3 or 4 more skilled labor guys. So, and it also depends, like for you guys where it's a new construction type thing, that's not really a good situation. You want it done where the company would do the whole thing, because especially when you start getting into this new construction, because coming into the last few days, especially that's when we come in typically, when it's right at the end. You've got plumbing suppliers going crazy trying to get this in and that. It's a mad dash right at the end. So, but yeah, we supply everything there. We also have service. We have a guy, Bob Reed, who's one of our employees who does nothing but reupholster weight equipment, and we also sell the small stuff. So we believe that we can keep this relationship for many years. It's not just, I mean, there's been many schools, well, Fort Clinton High School, which you guys will be moving the lead, when we did their original field house weight room, we've been planning that for 8 years. And, but in between there was little things they needed done. They needed to buy a bar here, a dumbbell here. They needed to get things reupholstered. We did all those type of things. So it's, we've made, I remember our first sale, it's pretty funny. Well, the first thing we did, our first big sale was at Worthington Kilbourne High School down in Columbus. And I went in there on a Thursday, and they said, oh, we don't need anything right now, we just need upholstery done. And they had every bench in there was torn up. I said, okay, we don't upholster bench. I'll call you back Monday, I think we can do something. Friday night, we went out and bought a sewing machine. Saturday, my business partner's aunt came in and taught us how to sew. Monday morning, I went back and said, 30 pads, we'll do it for you. 3 years later, it was our first big install when they replaced everything. So we made a lot of relationships, peeling gum off the bottom of the benches and unbolting them and putting them on and doing that. So kind of a general view is we're not afraid to, I've turned many wrenches, and we have guys that'll do all that now. We've grown where we have multiple teams out there at times, but when the job's big, I try to, I'll be on site to make sure I'm working with administration so everybody knows what's going on. That's what we believe. It's real hands-on, and so I'm very proud of it.
So how much are we capturing of our current equipment? What's happening with everything we have now?
Well, some of the things are reusable, such as some of the bumper plates, a few of the barbells that are in there, some dumbbells, possibly some of the weight trees, we can repaint those. There's a ground-based jammer in there that we could repaint and use that as well. So there's a few pieces, but things like the platforms, the benches, the cages are not reusable, and in the grand scheme of things would not fit into the new facility. But some of the small things, like I said, barbells and some of the dumbbells and plates, some of that stuff can be reused. Or I know Nick's in the past has done a trade-in type of work where we could get discounted rates, and they'll take our old stuff and kind of discount it on what they can sell it for.
Some of the things we give scrap value on, to be honest, it's fun to take scrap. You put it on the truck, you take it to the place, they have the big magnet that looks like a cartoon, pulls it all up. But for the most part, we're not necessarily in the used equipment business, but we want to add a value-added service to our customer, because one question we always get, okay, we're going to do this whole new weight room, what are we doing with all the rest of the stuff? Nobody really wants to deal with that, so we can remove it, we can give you some trade-in value and those things if there's value there, but we can make sure it's taken care of for you guys.
One thing I do want to point out too, I've worked with Nick and the company, the equipment guys, throughout my 15 years in college and high school athletics, and we've done 2 separate installs with these guys. I did my due diligence this time, and I went out and surveyed 5 different companies just to get a grand view of kind of what was out there and what people can do. And when it came down to it, Nick and his company, they have the heart of a teacher. They aren't concerned really about selling what their product does. What Nick does that I love so much is he's willing to educate you on why this is an option, or why this is good, or why this is bad. And that's one thing that, from the get-go, we got together 14, 15 years ago at St. John's High School in Toledo, that he was always there to teach and educate about what his product could do. And when it came down to it, that's really what makes a difference in me and working with somebody in a close relationship like that. And like I said, going back to it many times.
Just a quick review, the floor came up as a question, and that's in the base bid of the project. So we will have a floor in there, and it does look similar to that, but it's all one solid color. It's tiles like that. I don't know who the manufacturer is. It might be Everlast. We're going with, I don't know.
It's
but
dynamic flooring. They use a product called Dynafit. I've talked with Dave, the architect. He's worked with me, and we're gonna look at doing some flooring like this, where each station is specified by a color, and that's represented in the drawings, in the virtual drawings as well.
All right, I guess, going back to the original point about this then too, and we just need to go on record as a board to say that that's great that we're looking at that, but if it's a change order and it goes above and beyond what we put in the base bid, we're gonna have to find an alternative way to come up with the money to do the extra colors, because we've said that we've gotta stay on budget with this project, not take a dime out of taxpayers' money, additional in any way to pay for it out of our base budget. So far, we're under budget. We've got a little bit of a contingency, but it's so small. So we'll work together. We'll see what they're looking for and find out what the upcharge is. And we'll have to figure out a way then if that can be done to get done.
Right. Did we budget for?
We did not. No. So we're going to have to find, and that goes back to the company that we were just looking at possibly, is that do we find a naming rights person to put onto that field house their stamp that would be willing to pay for that equipment, maybe a health source, a clinic, somebody like that, Cleveland Clinic, somebody that might be willing to come in and do that for us and put the name on it. That's what we'll have to decide as a board, whether or not we go that step.
Or even private donors.
Right.
Yep.
We've had quite a few waivers we've done where it's people you have your sports medicine contract with.
Right.
Is they actually want to donate for the prehab part, which is the injury prevention part. It's not uncommon. I don't want to say it's quite common, but it's not uncommon.
Well, it's good that you've done your homework. I'm glad to hear that you brought 5 companies in, that you're comfortable with this company and as far as the knowledge that they have. I have heard a little bit about pricing too. Sounds like they do a good job with pricing, so when the time comes and we get further down the line, and we'll see what we have, we'll definitely come back and try to get this out there.
Sounds great.
It's an honor.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, the next item that I have, we have Tim Reaney here tonight to give us a facility update of the project, the new elementary building and the middle school and high school. So Tim is going to come up and run us through some of the things that he's working on in that project.
Well, thank you. A few things, I guess first I'll just go through the construction update, which I'm sure you've all been getting, but I'll just run over it pretty quick. Things are changing day to day now. The final cleaning of the elementary school is taking place. The final occupancy permit for the school was issued by the city last Friday. So the cleaning is continuing. The punch list work is continuing. Technology work is continuing, and all the technology should be completed by February 20th. Furniture began to arrive today, and that also will be completed by the 20th. They're hoping to be done a little bit earlier than that, but certainly by the 20th. At the high school and middle school, it's down to closeout items and punch list items. There still are some items that remain to be completed, and the closeout with all the warranties and guarantees and owner and operations manuals, that's continuing. The field house, I'm sure you're seeing the activity continue over there. There was a new delivery date of the steel building. That's been moved up 2 weeks to March 12th. So a recovery schedule will be developed, and that certainly seems like at this time it's going to be right back on our original schedule of opening. On utilities, the sanitary work is continuing, the sanitary sewer line. That's weather dependent. They only got in 2 days last week, but they did work today, and there's a few more days left on that. And the water and storm sewer are partly in, and they'll follow up that sanitary. The gas line is being installed by the gas company, and that they did get back today and have finished the underground portion of the line along Sailor Way. They're gonna bore everything under the road the remainder of the week, and hopefully they'll get done in the next 2 weeks. The foundations, last week, they did not do any work. I think maybe they worked 1 day last week. They have about 3 or 4 more days worth of work that they have to get done, and that's before the March 12th date, so I'm certain I'll get there, and then the building can start, and they did work today. Last month when I was here, we talked about the doors in the school, and I told you I'd bring you some samples. I'll pass these around after I explain briefly. This is a structural composite door. This is what the architect ordered and what we originally ordered. And you can see the structural material is all the way, that's what this door is completely made out of. The difference in that and the door we got, this is a particle core door, and you can see the particle core in the center of the door. This structural part would just be around the edge of the door, and then the field of the door would be made out of the particle core. So you can see when I passed around, you can look at the differences. But again, the only difference was found was the hardware attachment. There was a $10,000 credit offered for the doors. The doors cost about $20 more, the door we ordered from the door that we got. I think there's 93 doors, and they would have been a real expense for them to remove them and bring them back, so they negotiated a $10,000 settlement to leave the doors there.
So no difference in sound dampening?
Neither of the doors are sound rated. The rooms aren't sound rated, but to look at them and just evaluate them, there's not going to be any difference, for the students on either side of the door. But again, there's really no rating. The doors are not rated, so there's no really to really qualify that statement.
Do they come with any difference in warranty or?
They both have a lifetime warranty. If the doors fail, they'll replace the door. The warranty is the same on both of them. So that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about. The other thing I wanted to go over, pass those around for me. Been talking about the architect's fee, and I have this summary of the architect's costs. I'll wait for everybody to get it. So we could see when the project started, it was estimated that you're going to do $17 million worth of project hard cost and contingency. And the fee the fee percentage that was negotiated was 8%. So their fee was $1.36 million. All through the project, we've carried 8% for any work that's gone above and beyond that. And up until January 26th, we had estimated there was going to be $19.3 million worth of hard cost work. And Susan came to me and said, before we modify their contract, let's take a look at where we're at with the budget and so on. And we did, and we recalculated, and there's there's actually $18,838,930 worth of project hard costs in contingency. That was on January 22nd. So the fee percentage again was 8%, and that subtotal was $1,507,114. You take off their fee of $1,360,000, and the additional fee is $147,114. So this resulted in a net savings to date of $36,946. Savings in the sense that it was less than what we thought we were going to be spending. So again, this money's all budgeted. It's not new money that's coming into the project. Shelley came into a meeting with us, I guess a couple weeks ago now. We went through with the architects and everybody. That's where we're at. They asked me to put this together for you tonight. So that's really all I have to report on tonight. If you have any questions, if they have to answer.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the update. Great.
Sure. Thanks, Tim.
Okay.
That's all I have on the superintendent's
All right, tied into what Mr. Rainey just went through, I'd like to recommend a resolution to approve the addendum to the contract with Lesko Associates Incorporated for additional fees of $147,114 due to an increase in project scope.
I'll move. I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just pointing out that this is still all part of the original budget for the project. This is not over and above.
Right.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
All right, moving on over to the treasurer's report.
Okay, we don't have, you can cross off number 1, we don't have financials for January. We'll have those at the work session on the 21st. Number 2, recommend a resolution to approve November 30th, 2014 and December 31st, 2014 financial reports as reviewed January 14th, 2015.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Number 3, recommend a resolution to establish Fund 029-9015, the Student Achievement Grant from the NEA Foundation. This grant will support equipment for the broadcast journalism program.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Do we know the value of the grant, or?
It's
$5,000, we really received word that we're getting it. Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, discussion items. A couple. First one, I'd like to report quickly about the district leadership team. I've been a member of it since it began maybe 5-6 years ago or longer. And for those of you not familiar, the district leadership team is comprised of a group of district administrators. There's teachers, a board member, and a couple of community members. And the focus or the purpose is the team works to redirect and refocus the educational goals of the district in terms of how the children learn and how the material is delivered to the students in the classroom. And the 3 main strategies the district has decided to use are blended learning, co-teaching, and center-based instruction. The district leadership team then also has broken down further. We have building leadership teams and teacher-based teams. So these teams are working together, and then they report back, and I think we have monthly meetings usually for the district leadership team. And at our last meeting then in January, we discussed a universal design learning, that something new and on the horizon. It's an instructional method that helps teachers develop a curriculum that meets the needs of all the students in the classroom. So we began discussion on that, and we will continue at our next meeting.
thank Shelley for an overview on that team. That's, as you said, been in existence now for quite a few years, and they're a very hardworking group. We appreciate that a board member is a part of it. Actually, there's a couple board members. Mr. Jordan has joined us, and I think a few of you at times have jumped in when you can. So we appreciate the work that goes into that. You mentioned the universal design. I'm not going to talk too much about that tonight because, quite honestly, there's different ways of looking at whether that universal design is the right way, and I can tell you that I've had quite a bit of discussion recently with our curriculum director, talked with some teachers about it. I don't want to give us one more thing, even though the state might say it's a good thing to do. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, because it involves having a system of, I don't want to get into too many details about the philosophy or how it works tonight, but just what I want to say in general is I don't want to put one more thing upon our teachers that it seems like another change or another thing that we're going to adopt or something that is just now coming around the pike that we can jump on the bandwagon with. I think we need to look real closely at what we do, how we do it, and keep it simple. Make sure that we're just supplying the best type of instruction that we possibly can. And I think we've done that by our other things that we're looking at, the co-teaching model, the supplying the technology to the teacher. And once again, the technology is not the end-all be-all. It comes down to good teaching. That's just a tool for the teacher. Nothing is going to replace that teacher. And so we just need to keep thinking about what's simple, what works, what's good teaching, how to give our teachers the best resources and supplies we can, and let them do what they do best. So we'll get more into that universal design later to decide whether or not it's something we want to look at all or part of or none of, to be honest with you, because we're not just going to do exactly what the state says because they think that they can dictate everything to us. I think that we really have to think for ourselves. Our teachers really know what's best about what needs to be done, and we have to trust them to do it. So we'll work more with that as we go on. But thank you.
And did you want to say anything about the safety meeting?
We just recently had a safety meeting that involved the community to give them an idea about the ALICE training that's going on in the buildings. It gave them an overview about the fact that we've got a crisis plan in place, that we're training our staff, we're training our teachers, we're making sure that kids know what to do, God forbid, that if an emergency happens, that a shooter comes into the building or a emergency situation happens. And we've all talked about this ALICE training and how important it is. We're still working on it, still making sure that the entire staff gets trained, the entire school district gets trained, but it's a long, arduous process that you have to make sure that we have the details covered. The community meeting was not real well attended the other night, but that's okay. At least we make it available to the community. I don't know if anyone had any questions about that security training or not. But
Any other discussion items?
yeah, I had real quick, just wanted to make the community aware, we do have a film festival that's coming up April 10th at 7 p.m. at Vermillion High School. And that's a Vermillion High School Film Invitational for high school students, and it's a way to show off the talent and submit the most creative, unique student films in 2015. So we'll have more details as that comes up, but it's available to 9 through 12 grade students, and they have to submit those films up onto YouTube, and there'll be a lot more information coming out about that, but I just wanted to let you know the first announcement about that is out there now. And then real quick, one other discussion item. We talked about what we're going to do with the Vermillion Elementary School as far as the schedule of visitation. This is tentative, but I think that we've got a pretty good plan of what to do here. On February 20th, an after-school walk through with the staff. So that will be the first time that the staff will get a chance to see the building as a whole, see that furniture in there. We talked about how we thought that they need to get in before anybody else. and make sure that they get a tour. March 26th, shuttle kids all day, one grade at a time, let them explore the new building with their teachers for about 30 minutes. So that's the first time that the kids will be able to get in. April 25th, a community open house. Don't have the exact time on this, but it's going to correspond with the Gardener's Fair. So I think that that's a good way for the entire community to get around the building. April 29th, sail into kindergarten for those incoming kindergarten students and families, and that's going to be an evening activity. May 15th, lunch at the new Vermillion Elementary School for all the students, so they'll get a chance to be served lunch and get a chance to get around the building once again. So we have a plan. The teachers and the administration work together to put this together. It's not 100% written in stone, but that's the way it's looking to be. I hope that that meets the needs like the board was thinking about, to make sure that everyone still gets in there and gets some things done.
We should do something kind of special for the incoming kindergarten class that's going to, be part of the school. Be something neat, just for historic purposes. Just the first class that actually got to walk the halls or go, through the entire program.
Okay, I'll mention that to Bonnie and the staff over there.
Yeah, something, yeah.
What about having a board meeting again?
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, especially with the kids coming in.
Okay, that's all I had under discussion items.
Anybody else? All right, on to item number 10, consent agenda. Superintendent and treasurer recommend that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of the consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one single motion, unless a member of the board, the treasurer, or the superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately. A, review February 10th, 2014 board meeting minutes. B, approve the minutes of January 14th, 2015 regular meeting. C, approve the following fundraisers for policy number 5830. Let me just say as listed, or do you want to read them off? As listed. D, approve letter of agency and contract renewal with Education Funding Group for E-rate reimbursement consulting services for 2015-2016. E, approve agreement for professional services and imaging software with Strategic Solutions for digitizing and digital storing of school records. F, approve memorandum of understanding and interagency transition agreement with local education agencies in Erie County Board of Developmental Disabilities, Erie County Help Me Grow Early Intervention, Community Action Commission of Erie, Huron, and Richland Counties Incorporated, Head Start Program, Teaching and Mentoring Community Head Start Program, effective January 2015 through June 2016, and approve the following employment action as listed.
I'll move.
Second.
Any items to be removed or any discussion? Good? Okay. Suzanne?
It says Mrs., but Mr. Fagermont,
Yes.
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis,
Yes.
and Mr. Harding.
Yes.
Mrs. Hathaway.
And item 12, public participation. Anyone? Still the need for that? You good? On to item 13, date and location of upcoming board meetings. We've got the work session coming up February 21st, and then the next 3 monthly regular meetings. Those all work, or if not, let me know, and we'll make adjustments as needed.
Good.
Good? Grant, you good?
Yep.
And 14 then, recommend a resolution to move into, excuse me, executive session for the purpose of the employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of public employees.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mr. Habermill?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis?
Yes.
Mr. Harding?
Yes.
Sign in 8:33.